Hello, welcome again to another lecture on SUMO. So today in the previous classes, we've been able to look into what SUMO is all about, what does it mean for us to have a simulation, and we have also been able to offer help on how to download, install, and create the edit environment variables for our Sumo network. So today we are going to be trying, or we are going to be creating a highway using Sumo. And also previously I already explained that when you download a Sumo software, it comes with three other softwares, that is the Sumo and the SUMO-gui. We have the Netedit and we have the OpenStreetMap. But for the sake of what we are going to be doing today, we are going to be starting with, or we are going to be making use of the Netedit. So here is the interface of the Netedit. You can see we have the file, the edit, the processing, the locate, the tools, windows, language, and help. Though there are still more functionalities that we are going to be discussing. But the first thing we are going to do when you open this software, that is the Netedit, is to go on file, then we have the new network. So you can click on the new network. So this is what we have after when that is done. So this is the page you will get when we click on the open network. I told you I'll try as much as possible to explain it like gradually so you can understand every possible steps of what we are going to be doing today. We just want to create a simple highway, just a simple highway, just for a start, having the on ramp and the off ramp, and we have the main line in the highway. So that is just what we are going to be doing today. And here we say under the Netedit Sumo software, we know this is used for designing and analyzing network topographics. That is just what this Netedit is all about. And we have a lot of functionalities, just like what we can see through this interface. We have a lot of functionalities. The first one here, we can see is this edit network element, which is the network. This refers to the entire topography that we are going to be working on. And it includes the nodes, the devices, the links, the connections between nodes, and their attributes. So when we have the network here, we can see this is an inspect mode in which we're going to be making use of. The delete mode is when we want to delete a particular node or the link, we can use this. We have the select mode. All these are attributes under the network. Then we have what we call the demand. The demand here represents the traffic requirements between different nodes in the network. And it is a quantitative measure of how much data needs to be transferred from one node to another in in whatever network we're trying to establish. Here under the demands, we can see a picture of cars. That is, this is when we introduce our vehicles into the network or the highway that we are trying to draw or to come up with a simulation for. So under the demand here is where we have the vehicles. Here you can see the vehicle mode. We have the type distribution mode. We have the persons mode, the stop mode, a lot of other functions and other attributes under the demand node here. The same thing, so we have the demand here, also having some of its own properties like select mode, the data to be making use of some of these elements and some of these functions in whatever we are going to be working on. So here we have what we call the inspect mode gives us a view of what we are doing, and it helps us to have a good understanding of what we have been able to achieve so far if we need to go through any of the other elements or the modes again. That is what the inspect mode helps us to have a good view of what we have been doing. Then for the connection mode, it refers to how links between nodes are established. After when we have been able to use what we call the hedge mode here. The hedge mode here is just creating our nodes and our links in which are going to be okay. Let me try to do that in which I'll still have to delete it afterward. So when you click on the hedge node here, you can see the node. So creating something like this. Here is the link and here is the node. So this is the link and this is the node. So from one point to another point. So but if I want to delete the edge mode. Whatever I do will keep creating new edges. So that means I have to come to the inspect mode So this gives me freedom to do whatever thing I want to do. Afterwards, I can decide to click on this, then delete, delete. So when I click on, you can say the delete, delete, it goes off. So as soon as I'm done with that particular mode, the whole I have to go back to inspect mode. This gives me freedom to be able to pick any other thing or go through any other mode that I want to or we want to make use of. So that is the function of the edge mode. It has edge and also the links and the nodes. It helps us to be able to create the links and the node. So I have also been able to explain earlier in the previous videos that I posted that edges are also called links and nodes are called vertices or vertex. So we can use them interchangeably. So when we have this edge mode, when we click on the edge mode and we're able to create something like this. So this is the edge, which is also called a link, while the points, these red points are what we call the nodes or the vertex. So the black part here is called the edge or the link, and here is the node and the vertex. And if you want to delete this, because this is just an example, we come under the delete mode, we click on it, then it deletes, then click on this. That is the function of the edge node and the delete mode. We also have what we call being able to build whatever network we're trying to set up, be it a highway or whatever it is, then we can use the connection mode to be able to show the relationship. So it helps us to build links between nodes that are established. So it will help us to know whatever route or whatever path that can be created within that network. So we are still going to be able to look into that the when we start building the network, the highway network. So we have what we call so the select mode. This allows users to interact with the nodes and links in the network. And this can include selecting multiple components for editing, moving or deleting them, depending on the context though. And the select mode might enable functionalities like highlighting the selected items and revealing their properties and applying specific actions to them. So I am just giving us an introduction into some of this mode and some of these functions or elements. So when we begin to make use of them, it helps us to have an idea of what we are doing. So here we have the traffic light mode. This is quite explanatory. So this is when we want to introduce the mode of the traffic light into our network. Then we have this connection mode. I've explained that. So there is something I need to explain. Yes, I think this is the show grid. The show grid. Now, when we look at this main page of where we are going to, in most cases, it's very difficult for us to measure what or the length of our nodes or the length of our nodes and edges using the edge mode because this is just a plain page. But in order to have much more clarity on doing this, we can click on the show grid. So this show grid is just like this is a square grid which is measured in 100 meters by 100 meters. So that means if I decide to click on the edge mode, then create something like this, it's quite easy for me to know that this edge node or the edge mode that I've been able to I have here is since one square is 100 meters by 100 meters, then that means this line or this graph is 300 meters. So this is quite easy and very explanatory enough and makes it very much easier for us to be able to build or draw any network. So I'm still going to come back again using the delete mode to delete this off. But before I do that, I think I have to use that opportunity to be able to explain what we call the zoom in and out. Most people, I know we're all different, but for me, doing something like this, I prefer to make use of a mouse rather than using the inbuilt mouse on the laptop or whatever. It is better to use the attached mouse, which helps you with a little bit of a flexibility when moving around and when it comes to zooming and zooming out. So just like what I have here, it's quite easy for me to zoom in and zoom out I'm on the inspect mode, so it's quite easy to do this in SUMO compared to making use of the inbuilt mouse, but you can do whatever that works for you. So for what we have here now, you can easily zoom in, zoom out. So to delete this, then delete it. So we are back, go back to inspect mode, then we have this. So this is just an introduction into the components, the elements, and the modes that we are going to be making use of using the Netedit. Like I said, what we are going to be doing is just a simple highway, having an on ramp and an off ramp with the main line. So let's start. So we have this network. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to create a hedge mode. We click on the hedge mode. The hedge mode we can have. Now, another important thing is the the creation or the movement or how you create your edge is going to be determined. The way we put together our edge is very important. Like when I started with this, I started from this point, I clicked on this, I dropped it, click on it again, then drop it, click on it and drop it, showing that it is going to be in this flow. And the same thing too if I want to create my on ramp and my off ramp. So all I need to do is if I will not create my own ramp coming like this, I have to come to this point to create it coming into the highway. So I click on this, then it comes here. And if I want to create the off ramp, I click on this. So since we're through with the creation of the nodes and the edges, then you can come back to inspect mode. If you want to have a better view of what we have done so far, you can zoom in and you can see. So that means we can have a network where the vehicles are coming into on this main line, then vehicles coming also from the on ramp into the highway or the main line. Then we also have the main line to through here. Then we also have some of the vehicles going through the off ramp here. So like I said, this is just a simple highway, but now we are going to be going into the properties. But before we can do anything further, this network, what we have here, we can, when we zoom in and we decide to click on this, it will give us the internal attributes, more like the properties of attributes or the internal attributes of this link or edge is what we have here. But the default ID name here is EO. Then decide to change it, showing from where to where. Now the from to two we have here represents the vertex or what we call the node. Because when I click on this, you can see J3. Then when I click on this, all this we're still under the inspect mode. Inspect mode gives us the, like I said earlier, it gives us the opportunity to be able to click on the network anywhere we want to get the properties compared to when we are on other modes. Node, we can see the ID name. The ID of this node is J3, and this other one here, the ID is J4. So when I click on this link or this edge, you can see from J3 to J4, representing the movement from this point to this point. So it goes the same also for every other thing. So I am only just explaining based on the internal attribute. So each of the nodes, the links also have their own attributes. So for this link or this edge, you can see from J3 to J4, then the speed, that is the required speed we want on this link or this edge. We can change it if we want it to be prioritized, if we want to change the number of lanes. Presently we only have one lane, as we can see from what we have here, we only have one lane. We can increase, if I want to increase the number of lanes, all I need to do is to change it to two, then it becomes two lanes. If I want to change it to four, I can do the same, four lanes, then we have four lanes. But Let's leave it for 2. So we have 2 lanes. Then the type, there are other properties here, the length, the the spread type, what we want. So these properties are still there. So there is a whole lot of attributes under this lane that we can display the configuration of this particular lane. So like I said, the same way we have it for this, it goes with every other part of the network. So because we have changed the lane here to 2 lanes, we have changed the number of lanes to 2. That is why it seems a bit different from every other one. So what we are trying to do is in the main and this here we are going to change it to 3 lanes. So I click on this edge, then it shows that the lane is still 1. I can decide to change it to 3 and it becomes effective. So when I zoom in, I'll be able to see 1, 2, 3, 3 lanes. Click on this. All these things are, like I said, under the inspect mode. We click on the edge. It's just the lane, so we can change this to 2. So, so that means here we have 2 lanes, 3 lanes, then 2 lanes. So for the so from the previous lecture we had, I've been able to explain what an on-ramp and off-ramp is, or what they have. So the on-ramp here talks about the flow of traffic or the flow of vehicles coming into the highway, coming into the highway. So there we have the main line, and here we have the off-ramp, that is the flow of traffic off the highway or out of the highway. So for those 2 ramps, we are only going to be having just 1 lane leading into the highway and the same thing off the highway. So after when we have been able to do this, so this is what it looks like. Zoom in. This is what it looks like. So after when we have been able to do this, then we can count the connection mode. So when I click on this connection mode, what we have here, you can see it's just the node points. But the moment I click on the connection node, it will show the possible connection between this main lane leading to this particular lane and that of the on ramp, the same for the off ramp and the other part of this lane. So let us see that. So I just want to be able to show you how it looks like the moment I click on the connect mode. Okay, you can see here we have so so when I zoom in, you can see that since we already have 2 lanes here, so when vehicles or the flow of traffic coming in from this node point coming in here, so they can continue on this lane, while that coming from the on ramp, we go on this third lane. So you can see the arrow. So now this is how the highway looks like now. So I think we're making progress, right? We can decide to change the route of based on this. If we are not satisfied with the movement of the traffic flow within this lane, if I want a case where, okay, for example, I know that the vehicles coming from the on-ramp to the highway here will go through this particular lane, that is the third lane. If I want a situation where vehicles can also move from this second lane to this third lane, all I need to do is to be able to change the properties of that. So that you can see, so when I click on this second lane showing that I want an operation where there has to be changes. Now, the first one here shows the source lane. That is, this is the source lane that I want the movement from. So this is the source lane. When we have the yellow line is what we call the conflict lane. The light green is what we call the this is what we call the target lane, and we have also this one, the possible target lane. So that is, so if I want a case where the possible lane is this, so when vehicles are coming, this is a target lane. So, but if I also want to make this a possible target lane, all I need to do is to click on it. Then you can see the line showing that I've also made this a target lane. I'm going to explain that again. This is what we have. So the source lane, this shows that the source lane interacts with what we call the the target lane, because the source lane will go through the target lane because this lane is meant to be for this. So when it is showing this the dark green, it shows that that could also be a possible source lane. Sorry, that could also be a possible target lane. So all I need to do is to click on it, then it connects with it to show that I've also made this lane um, a target lane. So when I have my simulation, vehicles of the traffic flow coming from the second lane can move through this first lane, and they can also move through the other lane. So any of them like that. So I can also do the same for the yellow lane, even when it says it's a conflicting lane. If I really want vehicles coming from this source lane to be able to go through this green lane and this yellow lane, I can still also do that. So even when it's still stating there that it's so we've been able to align this if we want the vehicles to go in this direction and also in this lane. But if I want to remove this the traffic flow coming to this lane, all I need to do is I will just click on this, then it goes off. So, so that means you can see here showing that it will only go in this direction. So when I am done, before I can click on any other lane as a source lane, I need to click on this, which is called OK. So we have that. Then I can come to this, click on this. So it shows this as a source lane, what we call the target lane. This is the complete lane and this is the possible lane. So we can still leave our source lane and the target lane this way. So you see, I can take it off, I can click on it again to activate it. So when we're done, so we come back to the properties. You don't forget under the properties to click on OK. Then also looking from the on ramp to the main line, you can click on this to just show that okay, we can have this in, so it's going this way. So that means since this is our possible target, we can, and this is what we also call, this is our target lane, sorry, and this is our possible target lane. I can decide to also make it about to this a target lane. So vehicles coming into the highway can go in this direction and can also go in this direction. But I don't think that is advisable, so I will take that off. So the vehicles coming to the highway there, it is better for inline, they can decide to change lanes. So but for now, we'll stick to this. So when I'm done with that, so under the properties, you click on OK. So this is established. So then we come to this other hand, also showing when vehicles are coming. If I decide to make this my source lane, it shows the vehicles can go in this direction, yes. So this is the target lane. So when I'm done, I can click on OK. Then this can also be my target lane showing the movements in this direction, which is OK. Then I can click on OK. And for this, on this lane are for vehicles that are going off ramp. So you can have them come this way and click OK. So from what we have here, it shows that only vehicles, making this my source lane, so it shows that only vehicles on this lane can go offline. So that means from the settings um, network in the other videos. So that means from what we have designed now, only the vehicles coming through the on-ramp on this lane. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to introduce our vehicles into the network. So that is where we have the demand. So we will click on the demand. So using the demand function and elements, then we can click on vehicle mode. So you can see it is all highlighted. So under the vehicle mode here we have the trade that is from to hedges. So there are different properties there. It depends on whatever we want to do. So whether we want to make it in form of a trade or it's going to go for what we have, we can just put it as a flow, that is flow from to hedges. So we click on that. So we can also see the internal properties. We have the default vehicle type, what is the type of vehicles that we are looking into. And talking about the IDs, the color, if we want to change the color of the vehicle from yellow to any other color, then the depart lane, the depart points, yeah, we have the depart speed, the arrival lane. So these are some of the internal attributes that we can alter, we want to change to have a better, trying to keep it simple since this is the first video we're going to be making on this. And if I decide to click on this, okay, if I decide to click on this lane, it shows this is the lane attribute into this into this flow or into this lane. So here under the flow attributes, you can see the terminal, that is the hand. You can leave it as that. The space in vehicles per hour, that is, it's going to be in vehicles per hour. So how many vehicles do we want to are we looking at? So if we want it to be 3,600, we can leave it at that. But if we can also reduce the number of vehicles. Maybe we can decide to make it 1,600. Then the vehicles per hour, here it says 1,800. We can decide to make this 1,000. So just for example, so before I can finish up this particular part, the highway lane is still this, the color is yellow, the depart lane has to be the first, yes. All these informations are there. If I want to continue with this, all I need to do is to click on the finish route creation. The moment I do that, when I zoom in, then a vehicle will show here, showing that there is the traffic flow, or you can see that the flow has been created. 1,000. The total end of departure arrival interval is 1,600. Yes, we want the spacing based on vehicles per hour, and we've been able to create that. So we to click on the vehicle, then it still gives me the attributes of the attribute of the vehicle is still there. So if I want to change the color, I can decide to come here and change the color. If I want it as red, then accept, then come down here, finish route creation, then that means that okay, I was able to create a second flow. So let me delete the flow. So this is what we have. If we decide to change the color, you can see I've been able to change the color to red. If we still want to change it also from red to another color, all you need to do is to come under the color attributes, then click on whatever thing accepts, then you can see the color keeps changing. Click on the color. I want to change to this, then it will change to this. So let me return it back to yellow. Now, this is very important. The next part is very important. Now we can see from E4 to E4. That is, this graph, the node and the edge starts from this is E4. So that means from the beginning here to this end here, this link or this path is called E4. So that means the movement or the flow of this vehicle will only be from this, from E4 to the end of E4, from the beginning of E4 to the end of E4. But that is not what we want. We want the vehicle to be able to move from E4 into the main line, then off ramp step. So we need to know if this is E4, then where do we want it to go? This is what, when I click on this link, coming under the network, we have this is E3, but this is what, E4. So this is E3. So we want the vehicle flow to be from E4, E4, which is this is the E4, then to E3. Or better still, in order to make this remain this part, let me call it the on ramp on ramp. So then let's save this with off ramp. So we are already on the network. We're going back to demand. So under the demand, we click on this. So still under the on ramp to on ramp, but we need the movement to be from on ramp to off ramp. So that means all I need to do is to where off ramp. Then you can see the path has been created to this place. So that is the advantage of changing the ID names. But like I said, be able to change until you know the ID of your. So the advantage of changing the ID name helps us to be able to properly or set our form to two with the given name that we have assigned to any of the parts or the link, just like what I have been able to do here. So this shows the traffic flow, the vehicle flow from the on ramp, as we have it here, on ramp to the off ramp on this lane. So since we have been able to introduce that, we can also do the same with this. But like I said, mode, then we come back to the vehicle mode, you click on it, then which of the lanes. So I can decide to click on this, then come under the internal attributes. Since the other one here is what's it called, a yellow, I can decide to keep this as red. Okay, then we want the arrival lane. Should it be the current? The max, the arrival speed, the current one, and the depart lane, you can change the depart lane to probably keep it as random. So this, we can decide to leave the flow attribute just like the way we have for the ramps. Like I said, we are not making use of any attributes or any numerical values here. So as soon as you know we are through with that, is there any other thing? No. So okay, so the moment I click on this finish route creation, then the vehicle would appear here. So let's try that. So we can come back to the inspect mode or still under the demand mode. So here it shows the movement within this. The movement within this is just within the AO to AO, just into the hub frame. So because we didn't change the name, so if we decide to change this name to, let's change this to M1, that is the mainframe one. So okay, mainframe one M1. That means also change this one also to M1. So the name, I've been able to change this to M1. You can see the movement is from M1 to M1. And this will stand as our M1. This will be M2. The lane here will be M2 and here will be M3. So this will be on run. This will be off run. So here is showing that it is from M1 to M1. That is the movement or the traffic flow or the vehicle flow is just within M1. So if I want the vehicle flow to be from M1 to this is M2, this M3, then that means I have to change this to M3. And the moment I do that, we can see the line running through to M3. That is it. You can see going to M3. So based on these two vehicle flow introductions that we have here, vehicle 1 from the on-ramp to the off-ramp, then also vehicle 2 within the UI in order to be able to run the simulation so we can see the movement of the vehicles. So the first thing we have to do is to save this file, and we save that under save network. So when you click on the save network, here you can probably put anything, then M1 just to save. So under Netedit, there's a difference in saving the network and also saving the demand. We also have what we call the save form of here we have the save network in which we've done. We have the that of the configuration, and we also have the net configuration. Then we also have that of the demand. But because we're able to that of the demand, so since we've been able to save this, okay, that has been done. So I can decide to transfer this to open in SUMO-gui. So based on the information we have and everything we've done so far, we can transfer it to SUMO-gui. Then we come under the edit, then open in SUMO-gui. So at this point, it will bring the save sumo configuration file as. So how do you want to save it as? So saving as, what I'm just trying to explain is that saving the network is different from saving the configuration. We have been able to save the network at in which and the network we have been able to create. It's also important for us to save the configuration, which are two different things. Under this, you can just also do the same thing as saying M1, then okay. So automatically, it leads us to SUMO-gui. You don't need to open it as another file. Just clicking on that leads us into the SUMO-gui, which we have here. Let me put this in a full view. So at this point, this is the network we have been able to create already here. So There are some basic things we need to know under the SUMO-gui. This is the standard. If you want under the click, then put away, make it this reward, have this reward view of it. Also, the time, you can just decide to, you can put it to 1000. Then after when that is done, we can start. So you can see the movement of the vehicles from the main line to the main line, and you can see that from the horn ring coming to the highway or the main line, and we follow through. So the red vehicle will continue, yes, but the yellow vehicle will go off red because that is what we that was the settings we did, and that was the configurations we did with this network. So this is just a view of what we wish to achieve using the Netedit to be able to create a network and running it on SUMO-gui. So this gives us a view of the movement of each and every of the vehicles coming into the network from into this network. So this is just a view of it. So this can run till the end, and afterwards we can take the information for whatever decision or whatever we want to do with the data. Every of those vehicles that when we're looking into Sumo in the last lecture, we said it's a microscopic simulation software. So microscopic means that it pays detailed attention to each and every of the vehicle properties. So of every of those properties, I can decide to click on this particular vehicle, then it will give me the properties of that particular vehicle. So I can stop this when I stop and I decide to click on this. It will show the vehicles. So clicking on this, then we have show parameter. So when you click on the show parameter, it shows the the properties of that particular car. So you can see it's going through the M21, like this is the dynamic, then this is the position, then this is the time loss, the time since startup. These are just the properties of that particular vehicle. You know, you can also do the same, pick any other vehicle here. You can decide to pick this, then come under the show parameters, then it gives us the information of that particular vehicle. So this is why it's called a microscopic simulation. It's called microscopic because it pays attention to each and every attributes and behavior of every vehicle in the simulation network. So if I want to continue, then I can just it continues this way, make it so it keeps running. If I want to stop this, I can come here and stop. So so for what we have been able to design so far, that means we only introduced the vehicle flow to this lane. We didn't introduce the vehicle flow into the first lane. That is why we didn't see any vehicle moving through this lane. But if we want to do that, all we just need to do is we can close this, return back to the Netedit under the demand. So since we're under demand, we click vehicle mode, then we click on this because we want to introduce a new vehicle flow into the network. So we have something going through the first lane also, rather than having nothing in that first lane. So we do the same properties. So the depart lane random, yes, the speed, yes, 1600, 1000. Yeah. Since we are still using the same information that we had, click on finish route creation. Now, when we do that, we'll see that the second vehicle is not showing here. That is because it's showing that there are two different vehicle stacks here. So since I'm done with this, I can go under the inspect, then click on this. So clicking under this, you can see overlap element showing for vehicle 1 and vehicle 2. So this is for the vehicle one, the first one we had, having a red color. Then they decide to change the second, the color of the second, differentiate it to blue. So, so for this, now we have it as 2. So when I have one, the first one is red, while the second one. So now that that is done, having the two vehicles, so after one we've been able to do that now. So we can run this on SUMO-gui. We go to the edit, open in SUMO-gui. So we'll be able to see the flow of three. We'll be able to see the vehicle flow for three different color of vehicles. We have the yellow, we have the red, and the blue. So like I said, we can put this in real world, having it in this form, and the delay time, and the red, the blue vehicle flow, and the yellow vehicle flow. So this is a better view of it. So if you also want to check for the better visualization, you can come under the edit visualization, shape as the shapes. We make it in form of raster cars. Just go back to edit again. Edit visualization in form of triangles, and we have it in this triangular form. So in form of simple shapes, in form of boxes, circles, whichever way you want it. So this is just an introduction into the simulation of a highway network. We are still going to be looking into other forms of simulation, intersection simulation, traffic lights, the right of way, different lanes. So we are still going to be able to look into other forms of simulation.